Talk granny flats. Everyone wants a property.
Everyone wants a high-yielding property.
They can put a granny flat in the back. I think that's one key point and key takeaway for anyone looking to put a granny flat in a property is have good access.
Yep.
Because when it comes to leasing, it makes our job really hard to find tenants.
There's sort of two camps for granny flats. There's people that have owned property, that have built equity in them, that are trying to get a little bit more rental yield or rental income out of the property. I think it's a great option. So we can usually use the existing equity in the property to cash out, to then build the granny flat.
So they wouldn't have to put in any extra capital?
No, and that's the big thing. And you know, speaking with a lot of their accountants as well, it makes financial sense because with a new dwelling, you'll get the depreciation on it. It'll save you from a tax return side, given that you're getting the higher income, no money out of the pocket, increasing the overall value of the property, increasing the rental return. So there's a lot of pros for that side of things. When you're buying properties with granny flats attached to them, it's important to put the application with the right lender, depending on how it's constructed. So it could be just that the owner is selling the property, that they had a family member living in the back, granny flat, all on the same title, not really separate access. So some banks will pick up on that, and if we provide two different rental appraisals, one for the house, one for the granny flat, they won't always give it the merit that it should on paper.
Do they value it based on rental return? Is that how a dual property is valued by the banks? Like that's really where we'll start our estimates of price, is based on rental return, because we know most investors want at least a 6% return.
Yes.
If not, the money's better in the bank. So how does the bank value? Do they value on replacement costs or?
Yeah, it's usually on replacement costs and comparable sales. If it's a full walkthrough valuation, they will include a rental amount on the valuation. If it's a dual occupancy property or a granny flat, that will be lumped as one sum. And if that's lower than the rental appraisals we've got on file, that can cause an issue. But if we were to get a desktop or a curbside valuation done where there's not a full walkthrough, there's not usually a stated rental amount on there, so we can provide our own appraisals and that can be accepted. We do a lot of them, and you know, if it's a higher yielding property, when we're servicing it from a bank side of things, they will have a rental ceiling built in as a percentage of the property value in their calculator. So if the property is getting a 7% yield, the bank might only assess 5 or 6% depending on the position. So that obviously
just
affects.
To allow for rents to move and.
Yeah, but it affects borrowing capacity as well. That's the big one, because if you're chasing yield, you're usually trying to chase, you know, less out-of-pocket cost each month. And yeah, so for some of those, you know, investors that are in a bit of a tighter position that are looking for a more cash flow neutral property, it's a great option, but it can be harder from the bank side of things.
When they're both on the same title, does the bank usually like them to then be strutted so they can be separately titled?
The bank won't specify.
Yep.
It just depends on if it was a completely new build. They would just have to work out the funding so it's on two different progress payment schedules, so each are getting built, because it's usually quite rare the home builder is the same builder as the granny flat provider. Yeah, the granny flats are usually trying to get them in the sky for the minimum cost, whether that's sort of 200 to 250, yeah, ballpark. So their whole businesses are geared at building granny flats as efficiently as possible.
In and out.